Hey everybody, welcome to this week's podcast. So I made the title a little bit interesting this week, but it's actually really true. And I wanted to address something that I've heard definitely way too many times. And I can't tell you the amount of parents that I've talked to when they are looking for lessons for their kids. And we'll start talking about it. I just always like to ask questions, do you play? Have you ever played? Did you ever want to play? And the amount of times that the conversation leads to I guess bad memories, about just a bad experience with a teacher in their youth. And then more often than not, that seems to be the cutoff of when people stop playing. So today I wanted to address that issue. Did you hate your parent teacher? Did you hate your whatever type of teacher that you had for whatever instrument that you studied? And did that cause you to have a bad experience? If that's at all you, please leave comments down below and share not only what happened, but also how you overcame it if you continued to play. And I'm hoping through today's chat that we can really figure out not only why that's terrible, because I think we can all agree how terrible that is, but also what we can do about it to erase those memories and perhaps see that it might have not even been the teacher's fault, that maybe that's just their technique of teaching and they didn't know any other way of doing it. So I wanted to start with just talking about that. So do you have memories? Again, comment in the comment section below. Please hit that subscribe button, that like, really helps us out on the channel. And let's get started. So as recently as a month ago, I had a student start, and the parent was asking me what age was a good age for the child to start, and the student was, I believe, six. And I said, really, I think we discussed this in the previous podcast, there really is no perfect age, but what you want to do is maybe try a couple of lessons to see how the child reacts, and if not, you revisit it in 6 months or that type of thing. And so then, as usual, I ask, do you play? And they'll say, well, I tried when I was younger, but I never played again. And sometimes it's just a scheduling issue, or just life takes you in a different direction, which happens a lot. We try different things or sports or activities, and then kind of just we choose one over the other and kind of just fizzles away organically. But a lot of times the conversation kind of takes a darker turn, and they start telling me that they had just a terrible experience with a teacher from when they were kids, and that their parents forced them to take lessons, and it just left a really bad memory in their mind about music. Whether the teacher, I always tell my students, when we do scales, the important thing is you want to explain what scales are for, right? You don't want to just tell a student, do this for 3 hours a day and just kind of put them there, grunt work, just get it done. But that's what happened a lot of times with the parents that I speak to. The experience that they had was a teacher that just told them what they needed to do, and the information could have been correct, and more often than not, it was correct. They did need to practice those things, and they were important. However, the key missing ingredient in the way the teacher approached teaching, in this case, the parents at that age, was they didn't explain why they were learning what they were learning. And I think that's so critical and crucial when you're learning music, and when you're old enough to understand, because once you're 6, 7, you can pretty much understand why you're playing. You got to enjoy something to be able to play it or practice or revisit it. You don't want to just do this ABC, do 20 minutes a day, half hour a day, 2 hours a day. That is kind of the reverse of what we want for music. And it always breaks my heart, because I always make kind of the same comment. How sad is it that they could strip the joy out of something so beautiful, right? And I was going to make the comparison to mathematics or that type of thing. But math is actually pretty beautiful too. I know when we're in school, it might not seem so beautiful, but it is extremely useful, and there's beauty in numbers and all that. But how many times have we had the experience that we'll have a mundane subject in school, something like a math or English or that type of thing, and we have this marvelous, passionate teacher, and those are the teachers that we remember. It's not so much about the subject. We remember the experience that teacher gave us, with that kind of infusion of the desire to learn that they put inside us. I'll never forget when I was in college, I was taking some extra courses. I was kind of in a hurry to, graduate and get going with life and that type of thing. And I took a summer course to advance some credits. And I'll never forget, it was the Greek and Latin roots to English. And at the time, I was like, all right, why not? That was only one of the few courses that was offered during the summer. And I kind of went in there thinking, okay, great. It should be an easy A. Well, it's a short 8-week course. Get my credits and get out of here. I'll never forget the teacher that I had was so incredible that to this day I always mention this story as I'm doing now. And he just blew me away. His passion for words and the etymology of words and the roots to words that sometimes I'll look at a word and I'll be like, oh, that root seems like it's a Roman root or a Latin root or a Greek root. And it just blows me away that here I am a lot of years later, because I was in college a long time ago, and I'm still remembering that experience, all because of his passion for teaching, his passion for that subject. And there's countless of courses that I've taken in college and high school and afterwards that I don't remember at all. Not only do I don't remember experience, I don't remember what I learned. I don't remember, it didn't leave anything inside of me. So I think that's where that first element that those teachers didn't infuse in these parents' experience when they were kids is the passion for music. And I don't want to excuse teachers for that. I love passionate teachers, but I do want to kind of defend them a little bit, because it does happen on occasion where kind of the routine of teaching might turn into just that. It becomes a routine and kind of you show up, you do this. And again, not to excuse it. However, there is something to that, and perhaps they were caught kind of in a that sine wave on the down curve of a teacher's kind of slump, if you will. But nevertheless, I do feel like more teachers need to have passion, and when I teach students, I try to inculcate that in them with music, is that we're not just learning scales, we're not learning arpeggios, we're not even learning songs for the sake of saying that we can play those things. We're learning because it's music and it's beautiful and it's wonderful and it's creative and you're making something out of nothing, and it's the culmination of hundreds, if not thousands of years of humanity figuring out harmonies and chords and how they relate to each other. It's so much of that in my mind, I always tell parents, like, I don't know how you could take the passion out of music. It's like taking the passion out of painting or a movie or directing or acting. There's just something inherently beautiful about music. So with all of that said, perhaps that's one reason that they could have had that bad experience, that they could have caught them in a kind of a slump time in their teaching. Possible. The other possibility is maybe they're just not passionate about music. Maybe they treat it as just a job, which again, nothing against that. They do need to make a living. But it's so much better if you find someone that's passionate. If you're taking lessons, if you're learning something, especially something so creative like music, you want to find instructors and teachers and mentors that are passionate about what they're talking about. That will last a lifetime. And then also, as we mentioned in the beginning, that second part to it, perhaps they just didn't know they needed to explain why they were learning something. Something I do all the time is, if we're going to learn a scale, which unfortunately, we need to know, right? We need to know chords, we need to know arpeggios, we need to know all these things. Why do we need to know them? Because these are the elements that are used in music. In the same way that if you're on a team, soccer team, football team, baseball team, you practice drills. You're clearly not in a game going to do a drill 10 times, but that drill that you practice is going to give you the skills that you need during the game, so that you don't have to think about, oh, that's right, I don't have that skill. You just have them all because you practice them so many times. They're innate. They're in your muscle memory. That's what we want to do with music as well. So I take the time to explain to students, okay, if we're going to learn, let's say, arpeggios, things like that, or right, you might think if it's just an exercise is boring, but all of a sudden now if we apply it to Someone Like You by Adele, all of a sudden now it makes sense. Not so boring now, right? But at least you have that. You don't have to practice that skill from scratch with the new song. So now you have all these skills built in if you want to practice some Mozart. And then here come the scales. So now you have those scales. So you have all the tools that you need. So that's also a big reason that perhaps I had a bad experience. So as I continue having the conversations with parents, I notice that maybe perhaps it's not so much that they hated the teacher, but it's really about that experience they had with music. And it always breaks my heart because to have such a bad memory and for it to cause them to stop. Because it's one thing to, okay, you move on, you try another teacher, but for it to leave such a bad taste in your mouth. So I've had a lot of beautiful experiences where the parents will kind of pick up where they left off when they were kids and continue learning with their kids now, and like entire families are playing. And that's extremely amazing to see. And if you're one of those adults that had a bad experience as a kid, high school, middle school, elementary, whatever they played, the recorder, the clarinet, maybe they forced you to be in bands, whatever the experience might have been, I just want to encourage you to not let that define what your musical experience was. I'm trying to compare it to, would be, I guess, having a bad sports experience when you're young and then never playing sports again and never experiencing what it's like to run down a field or score a goal or get a point in a basketball game or hit a ball in baseball or football, catch a touchdown. That would be tragic, right? Just because of a few bad experiences. And the same thing with music. I just want to encourage you to pick it up again, to take it step by step, and don't let those experiences define your future. And more importantly, don't let it take away the beautiful experience that awaits you, especially with your kids, especially as you start a musical journey for your kids. And I say that all the time. Parents are amazing. They will sacrifice and do anything for their kids to have an amazing experience, a better experience than they did, better opportunities, better everything than they had. But how much more incredible is if you do that alongside with them? And that was always my philosophy, continues to be to this day, that music is a communal experience, best enjoyed by those around you that you love. And so I hope this helps kind of put a little bit of perspective of what could be the reasons you had a bad experience, but more importantly, not to let it be the reason that you stopped learning music in the first place. I have actually a new student. He's a professor, and he's wonderful. He always wanted to learn the guitar, and he picked it up, and we're having a great time. And I can't tell you how lovely that is to see. His son is playing too, so now hopefully they're going to start playing together. And it's just that couldn't make me happier, because that's exactly what music is meant to do, bring people together. So pick up your instrument wherever you left off, start something new, start a new musical adventure. If you're doing Color Me Mozart with your kids, make sure that you participate too. Don't just kind of plop them in front of the videos or the book or whatever. Engage. I made this to be something that you can learn as well, as much as it's just colors and shapes. There's music in there, and it's the building blocks for a real solid music education that can be started at any age. I know it's colorful and it's mainly for young kids, but secretly it's for you guys too. So hope you have a great time. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'll see you guys next week for the next podcast. Take care.